Hello, 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 everyone. What's up? What's going on? How are you guys doing? How is everyone? How is everyone? Oh, I can see so many people that I really would love to see right now. Oh, we are really not so much that not so many people are watching me live right now. We just have 16 people watching me live right now. That is a very, very small number. I know it's been a while. Come on, guys. So please, if you are watching us right now, smash that like button, destroy it, demolish it so that many people will know that we are live and so that my self-esteem will not feel depleted. Hi everyone. Hi. I can see Jazz, I can see Can You Not? I can see Happy Mac. How is everyone? I can see King of Current. What is happening? We don't have so many people with us live right now. Am I too early? Is this live too early? Uh, Anyways, how are you all doing? Yes, this is going to be it's been a while, right? It's been a very long while since I did a live stream that is just only me, right? King of Current said is the algorithm. Yeah, it is. It is. And help the algorithm by smashing the like button. Okay. So I don't feel like, oh, what's happening? I'm no longer famous. It doesn't even matter. I'm going to say whatever I want to say, anyways. Uh, okay, so what is this live stream about? Okay, like I was saying, this is the first solo live stream I'm doing in a very long while, and yeah, I wasn't even sure that I was going to do this live stream. I really wasn't sure. That is why it was scheduled kind of 4 hours ago or 4 hours 30 minutes ago, and yeah, and that is why we are here trying to soldier through. Please, guys, like I said, smash the like button. Okay, the view count is really affecting my self-esteem right now. It is really destroying it. It is decimating my self-esteem. I feel like I'm no longer famous. I was never famous. I don't know why I'm saying this famous stuff. Like there was ever a time that I was famous. So yeah, that is the origin of this live stream and how I was contemplating if I should do it or if I shouldn't do it. Well, Kofi said my face is getting hairy. Yeah, I'm growing it out. I'm growing. Also, if I remove my face cap, you see that my hair is also growing a lot. I'm not trimming the mustache, so yeah, I'm not there yet. I have to trim the mustache. That's what Mohammed said. He said you should trim. What the fitra is 5 things, right? Cutting the nails, trimming the mustache, plucking the pubic hairs, and circumcision. How many am I adhering to? Not so much. My nails are growing out. I need to cut them to adhere to the fitra of Allah. I need to cut my nails. Of course, you have to do the others. Circumcision, I was born that way. My parents didn't give me. I wasn't. I wasn't given the option to choose. But the facial hair, this is my choice. Okay, my beard, my choice, and I'm choosing to leave it. But the mustache, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe in the future I'll decide to go the Arabic way. I've been told that the more I investigate into Islam, the more I feel the need to convert. And the truth is, there are people who said that they 100% accurate. I mean, the more I learn about Islam, the more I feel the need to declare the Shahada and commit jihad and all whatnot. Because why not? So yeah, today's topic is about FGM. It's about FGM, female genital mutilation, and what it has to do with Islam. I made a video earlier this week. I know some of you are like, Frank, you're not posting videos. Actually, I am. It's just not on this channel. In fact, that is why I am doing this. That is one of the reasons why I'm doing this live stream. If not for the fact that I want to promote my other channel, I won't be doing this live stream. And it's so it's looking like it's not working because I don't have so many people watching me right now. So it's like my efforts are all in vain because not so many people are watching right now. I wanted to use this live stream to promote the other channel, but it's not working. Anyways, so yes, we're talking about female genital mutilation and the the connection it has to do with Islam, right? That's what we are talking about today. The connection between female genital mutilation and Islam, and how Islam has contributed to the practice, and whether it is indeed Islamic or not. I made a video earlier this week breaking down, I giving 7 facts about Islam that shows how it promotes and preserves the practice. Essentially, just promoting and preserving the practice. That is what Islam is doing in a nutshell. And yeah, I made a video about it. And we are going to be reacting to that video, essentially. That's what this live stream is about. This live stream is us reacting to a video that I made. So you are going to see the 2 faces of Frank on the screen. The good thing is when I make videos, my face does show like 20% of the time during the video. So you will not be seeing my face. You'll not be seeing 2 Franks on the screen for too long, okay? It's going to be 1 Frank for the most part. And I'll be explaining all the facts that I mentioned in the video. And using this opportunity to tell you guys that, yes, I have a new channel. And the channel is called Frankly Speaking, and you know, if you check the title of the video, the channel is tagged there. You go, you follow it, you give it a follow. I have 2 videos there already, and I'm planning to post more. In fact, I'm doing a couple of videos on just not a couple, a few, because couple is 2, a few videos, kind of like a series on female genital mutilation and what it has to do with Islam. The first video, which I have already posted, it's talking about just laying the foundation, you know, with regards to the topic. Funny thing is that in that video, I did not even define FGM, did not define the 4 kinds. I just went straight to, oh, this is FGM, and this is how it, you know, it relates with Islam. I'm hoping that people who watch that already know enough to know that, okay, this, if you are watching this topic, is that you are interested in it, okay? You did not just, YouTube did not send you the notification by accident. You're already invested in the conversation and you want to know, is this really an Islamic practice? So let's go straight to the point instead of giving you all those unnecessary definition. Okay, so that's kind of the mindset with which I made the video. So it's very straightforward video, shows you, you know, clearly the connection between Islam and FGM, and we'll be reacting to it, like I said, today and on this live stream. So yeah, I have a series of videos planned. The first one, laying the foundation, connecting FGM with Islam. The second one is going to be reacting to usual like rebuttals that people make when you make the claim that Islam endorses, promotes, and preserves the practice of FGM. When you make that claim and you know, show proof in the Quran and in the Hadiths and in Sharia that supports your claim, there are certain rebuttals that Muslims will make. About 8 of them I'll be talking about in the next video. There are more than 8, but I'm going to, you know, focus on just 8 of them. And then the next video I plan to make is to look at stories from people who have gone through the practice or who have been victim of the practice in especially those from Africa, especially those from Somalia. Somalia is the epicenter. Okay, 97% of women in Somalia. Now that's almost 100%, 97% or 98%, depending on which site you look at. 98% of women from Somalia are victims of FGM. They've undergone the procedure, and it is really a painful, traumatizing experience, especially for these young girls, because many of them are circumcised when they are young, before the age of 15. And Egypt is the same thing. Egypt is 91%. 91% of women in Egypt have been circumcised. In Mali, I think it's 91%. So in Indonesia, I think 49%. I can't remember the stats, but we are going to look at that because I mentioned those statistics in the video. And it is really it is one of those practices that is just evidence that this is an Islamic practice. But of course, Muslims will try to deny it. And the next video I'm working on is just going to look at ways that Muslims try to distance themselves or distance the religion from the practice. And I'm going to be like, no, you're wrong. This argument does not work, and here's why it doesn't work. So yeah, that's the next video. And then I said the third one is going to be, you know, me picking certain examples and certain notorious stories or famous stories of victims of FGM from Africa. Then yeah, so I think those are the videos that I have planned. So yeah, this is why you should subscribe. Okay, this is why you should subscribe. Great things are coming your way very soon, and this is why you should subscribe to the channel so that you can learn more. Okay, I like horrible topics. That's where I shine. That's where I shine bright. I don't like peace. I like trouble always. So and of course I am aware of how dark the subject can be. Funny enough, I'm not even treating the subject with as much levity as I treat other topics I cover. If you watch the video, the jokes are limited. I think I make just one or two jokes. Every other statement was really serious. I would try maybe moving forward to, insert my usual sarcastic comment, but I want to respect the topic because it is really horrific, and I want to be respectful because this is a traumatizing practice, and many women, have been suffering under this, and are still suffering on 230 million women. Okay, 230 and over 140 million of those women are from Africa. So that's that's not something to really joke about. So yeah, what else? I want to pass a message across to somebody who is watching us now, because I think this is the only way I'll be able to reach this person. And it's, can you not? Please, can you not? I have been trying to message you from the platform I used to message you from, but I don't think it is delivering. I don't know if you can send me a message so that I will. I don't know how it works, but I believe the message should come from your end. But I've been trying to reach you, and it has not been possible. So please, if you can, just send me a message instead, so that I can send you a message, and the message will go through. So yeah, those are the introductions. Also, if you have questions about FGM, if you are interested in the topic just as I am. And also, another thing I need to state is the reason why I'm talking about this is I believe that if you don't show the connection between FGM and Islam, if you don't state expressly that FGM is an Islamic problem, if you don't do that, it will be really difficult to make progress in ending this practice, because there are many organizations working towards ending the practice. There are so many, and it's like when they take one step forward, they make two steps backwards. It's really like a slow moving progress. Of course, they always highlight, in certain instances we are experiencing progress, but where is this huge progress they are experiencing coming from? They don't mention. They try not to make it a religious issue because they don't want to hurt people's religious sensitivity. I understand that, but I feel if you don't mention the major culprit when it comes to this religion, and you feel, mentioning Islam is going to make the subject matter divisive and make us not make progress. I'm like, you're not going to make progress. In my opinion, these organizations are not going to make progress anyway. It's the same thing with child marriage. If you don't mention the people responsible for this practice, you won't make progress anyway. Okay, over 80% of FGM cases involve Muslim women. You cannot overlook this and say, we should come at it from a cultural point of view. Let's not come at it from a religious purpose. Let's act like we are trying to end a barbaric culture that has no place in any religion whatsoever. And I believe the more we shape the conversation that way, the less effective we will be in ending the practice. We have to call it out. We have to say, these are people who are responsible. This is why they are responsible. And this is wrong. And those who preach this, they are wrong. Whatever ideology is behind this is wrong. And we call it out. That way we'll be able to end the practice instead of sidestepping around the conversation. King of Koreans said, let's act like Christians and other religions do FGM. Yeah, people, this is another thing you notice, which is what I'm going to be talking about in the next video I'm going to do. I'm working on rather, which is the video that is coming out this Monday. One of the rebuttals that people make when you say FGM is an Islamic practice, they will say, but Christians, there's some Christian community that practice FGM, and they are right. They are right. The Coptic Christians in Egypt practice FGM. The Ethiopian Christians in Ethiopia practice FGM. Okay, even Christians in Liberia, for example, practice FGM. These are like major like places where you have a huge percentage of FGM cases in Africa. Let me not say in the world in general. In Africa, the funny thing is that every case of FGM outside Africa is Islamic. It doesn't have anything to do with culture, but any instance of FGM outside Africa is purely Islamic. In fact, that is why many people have couched FGM as an African tradition and not as an Islamic problem. And the truth is, FGM existed in many parts of Africa before, they ever had any contact with Islam. But the religion has done so much in preserving the practice. It has done more than any other ideology or force in the world. It has done way more in preserving and spreading that practice. The reason why you find Coptic Christians, that is about I've forgotten the percentage, the percentage rate of FGM cases among Coptic Christians, but it's lesser compared to what you find among Muslims in Egypt, right? The reason why Coptic Christians engage in circumcision, in female circumcision or FGM, is because of the society where they find themselves. These are minority in a Muslim majority country where Islam has established a culture, right, that sees an uncut woman as filthy, dirty, disgusting, bad, okay, unclean, something that is an object of reproach. And imagine you are living as a majority in that society, and of course, the pressure from your Muslim neighbors are going to, that culture is going to, even if it's not a pressure thing, that culture is going to rub off on you one way or the other. It's not going to be easy to say, you know what, I will be a community in this place and not engage in this practice. There are certain, I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it's more likely and understandable when you see. And here's the funny thing: in Egypt, the decline of FGM practice is more among Coptics than amongst Muslims. So the Coptic Christians are more open to abandoning the practice than Muslims in Egypt. Another instance that people will bring up is Ethiopia, and the reason why you have FGM cases there is because that area has been like heavily influenced by Islam. If you remember, if you are aware of history and how the Islamic slave trade worked in North Africa, Ethiopia was one of the ports from which they took slaves from the Ethiopian ports that they took so many slaves that they got from Africa to Arabia, female slaves especially, that because that was one of the major exports of the trans-Saharan slave trade, and Ethiopia was one of the ports from which those women were transported. And it was in Ethiopia where many of the female slaves were circumcised after they were captured. And it was the most grotesque form of FGM, which is infibulation, where they sew up the female parts. Okay, they sew it up. That was what they were doing in Ethiopia. So imagine a region that has a history of that practice. It is not out of place to find that even Christians in that region. And another thing you need to know about Ethiopian Christians is the Muslim world. Since the Islamic conquest of North Africa, the Muslim world has gone to great lengths to cut off Ethiopian Christians from other Christian counterparts in other parts of the world. For a very long time, historically, they've been cut off from the rest of the world, unable to interact with other Christian brothers from let's say Rome, or even from Egypt. They've really been cut off by the Muslim world. So the ability to interact with other Christians, know what should be practiced and what should not, what to imbibe from the culture around them and what not to imbibe from the culture around them, is not something that they've been exposed to. They've not been exposed to the rest of the Christian world for a very long time. So it is understandable why such community were engaged in that. Yet you find that even among Ethiopian Christians, the rate of FGM is declining. Okay, it is declining. Meanwhile, we have Muslim states like, I think it's Zambia or so, where previously FGM was banned. Was like there was a law passed that banned the practice, criminalized the practice, and now that country is considering repealing the ban on FGM because people are protesting that the law is impeding on their religious rights. But of course, we still have to pretend like this is not an Islamic practice. That's one thing we still have to do. We still have to talk about, oh, actually, you see, maybe consider the fact that some Christians who are just new to the faith. These are African Christians, right? These are people who are living Islam or living traditional African practices and coming to Christianity for the first time. People who still have the baggage of their traditional practice with them. They are still practicing FGM, but of course that makes the practice universal and not an Islamic problem. Anyway, let's get to the video. I am talking too much. Let's get to the video of me watching myself. There's that video. The good thing about reacting to a video like this is that it is my video. I have it. I have the original. It is my video and I have the original. Female circumcision or FGM is a vicious human rights violation inflicted on over 230 million women and girls globally. Is it an Islamic practice? Well, here are 7 facts. And of course, you can see a picture of a Muslim activist, a Muslim women's rights activist, with Tibana saying FGM is not a religious obligation. Well, we'll see if she's correct. I show the connection between FGM and the religion of peace. The first thing Muslims who oppose FGM will tell you is that the practice is not mentioned in the Quran. And they are right. But what they fail to mention is that many other important Islamic practices aren't mentioned in the Quran. Take Salat, the 5... And this is the first point that I'm discussing here in this part of the video is a point that is very important, a point that many Muslims who bring up in denying the fact that FGM is an Islamic practice. You will hear it all the time. And they use it for many other practices in Islam, especially when the practice is something that they are not proud of. They'll be like, oh, it's not mentioned in the Quran. This is not mentioned in the Quran. FGM is not mentioned in the Quran. Female genital mutilation or female circumcision, whatever it is, whatever name you want to call it, it's not mentioned in the Quran. Like, knowing fully well, many of them knowing fully well that there are many practices in Islam that are not mentioned in the Quran. So many practices that are not mentioned in the Quran. A lot of Islamic practices have no mention, not a single one in the Quran, because as much as, the Quran is the clear and perfect speech of Allah. It has every instruction that a Muslim need. Well, one of those instructions is that this is the complete nature of the Quran. We are going to tell you about a bunch of things, but the ones we do not cover, for more information, contact Muhammad. So that's essentially the perfection of the Quran. How perfect it is that it doesn't cover a lot, and the things it does not cover, it tells you refer to Muhammad. Muhammad will tell you more about this. So Muslims don't only listen to the words of Allah, they also listen to the words of Muhammad. They have to follow the words of Allah and they have to follow the words of Muhammad. That is the principle. And here's the funny thing about it. For me, I'm like, both of them are the words of Muhammad. Both the Quran and the Hadith, they are both essentially just follow Muhammad. Islam is the religion of Muhammad. It's a religion by Muhammad for Muhammad. And the person, he said, these words are coming from Allah. Who recited them? Who was the first person to recite them? Who do you hear the recitation of these words from? Muhammad. The Hadiths are also the words and sayings and commands and deeds of Muhammad. At the end of the day, you are following Muhammad. That's the person you are following essentially. So that's the completeness of the Quran. The completeness of the Quran is is personified, okay, in Muhammad. What Islam is and isn't is personified in Muhammad. Compulsory prayers, for example, the Quran doesn't state the time for each of these prayers. There are also times when a Muslim should make these prayers, and you won't find those times mentioned in the Quran. Zakat, the Islamic alms tax, is another good example. The Quran doesn't mention when a Muslim should give 10% or 20%, but this distinction is crucial in the practice. Also, a Muslim shouldn't give zakat on earnings made dishonestly, but they don't get that instruction from the Quran. Ramadan is yet another good example to buttress this point. Muslims observe Ramadan for 30 days. That's the mandatory period for fasting during Ramadan, a prescription not found in the Quran. Indeed, many core Islamic practices like this aren't mentioned in the Quran. That's a well-established fact in Islam. Here is how it works. The Quran. Before we go to the next point, that's the first point that everyone needs to know about. So if we're interested in my drip, let me stop. Let me make this. Let everybody see me so that you don't see 2 francs on the screen. What was I about to say? Okay, the first point that I think is important to establish is, like I said, not every important Islamic instruction is mentioned in the Quran, and I think it's very important for people to keep that in mind. Not every important, not even the most, even crucial commands, like how many days to fast during Ramadan, and the fact that you don't start your fasting 2 days before Ramadan. You don't see those mentioned in the Quran. Those are mentioned in the Hadith, and they are important. Okay, if you fast 2 days before Ramadan, your fasting is void. Essentially, you have to start fasting on the day from the first day when your fasting is supposed. The fact that Muslims look for the crescent moon or look to the clouds and stuff like that. Every practice surrounding Ramadan is my screen is blank. Sorry about that. Anyway, the 5 compulsory prayers, how many times you have to pray 5 times in a day, it's not mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned in the Hadith. The story of how Muhammad got the prayers reduced from 50 to 5 is not mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned in the Hadith. That's how Muslims know that they have to pray 5 times in a day. And the times for these prayers are mentioned in the Hadith. They are not mentioned in the Quran. And even when not to make these prayers, this is the funny thing about Islam. Islam is one religion that is just too strict. It tells you exactly when to pray, exactly when not to pray, and gives weird reasons for why those are the case. And you have to follow it precisely as it is prescribed by Muhammad in the Hadith. Even though, yes, the Quran tells you to pray. The Quran says, observe Salat, give Zakat, and, talks about the sacred months and stuff. But the details of all these things mentioned in the Quran are found in the Hadith. Even the fact that you become a Muslim by reciting the Shahada. It's not, yes, the Shahada that there is only one God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger is repeated multiple times in the Quran. But how do Muslims know that for you to become a Muslim, you have to recite the Shahada? They get to know that from the Hadith. So it's to make the claim that FGM is just not an Islamic practice because it's not written in the Quran. It's like saying that fasting for 30 days is not an Islamic practice because it's not mentioned in the Quran. If you are going to reject FGM because most of the evidence for it is found in the Hadith, then also don't fast for 30 days. And here's another important thing people need to know about the Hadiths. Islam is impossible. It is impossible to practice the religion without the Hadith. Even Muslims who claim to be Quran only, they are just rejecting parts of the Quran they're just rejecting the Quran essentially when it is convenient. That's what they are doing. That's essentially what they are doing. They see a verse they don't like, or a portion or a saying in the Hadith that they don't like, and for that reason they're like, oh, we are Quran only Muslims. Okay, if you are a Quran only Muslim, how many times do you fast during Ramadan? Where do you get that from? How many times? When do you pray? When do you pray the 5 daily prayers? Where do you get that from? Do you get that from the Quran? How then do you practice the religion if you are not following the Hadiths? You find that these people follow the Hadiths. They do. They just find a way to ignore that part and then pretend like they are not following the Hadiths. The truth is, Quran only Muslims, in my opinion, are pretending or lying to themselves, because at the end of the day, they are all following the Hadiths. You have to. Instead, your imam is not complete. It can't be complete without the Hadith. So the Hadiths are very important. Muslims should not gaslight you to think, oh, if it's in the Hadith, then it is not. The truth is, the Hadith is as important. The level of importance that you place on the Quran is the same level of importance you place on the Hadith, especially when they are credible. They hold the same power. When you look at how it applies in Islam, how the Hadiths are being applied in Islam, you see that they have the same weight as the Quran. There is no higher weight placed on the Quran than what is placed on the Hadith. Muhammad's sayings and deeds as authoritative as the Quran. And even the Quran gives the Hadith that level of authority. You find that level of authority given to the Hadith from the Quran. You know. So yeah. Karina said they do 30-minute fasting days in 30 days. They don't actually fast for 30 days. What a joke. Yeah. Well, that's the religion of peace, okay? They call it fasting. It's fasting. Lunch skipping in Islam is fasting. Yeah. That is what the religion gives you. Quran is the eternal speech of Allah. It doesn't contain words spoken by mere mortals. And though it claims to be clear, and Muslims also claim that the Quran is clear, the truth is the Quran is pretty vague. The Quran contains words in Arabic that has no meaning in Arabic. This is one of the funny things about the Quran that I find very interesting. These are like words in Arabic that you find in the Quran, repeated multiple times in the Quran. And this was, they call it, you see the name, I don't even want to try to pronounce it because I know I won't pronounce it well. This is what those words are called. And they are repeated in the Quran over and over again. And these words don't have meaning. This is one of the miracles of the Quran. The religion is very interesting. This is one of the miracles of the Quran, is that there are words in it that Muslims don't understand, that Arabic speakers are like, what does this mean? We don't know what it means. Therefore, it must be a miracle. Alhamdulillah. So funny, you know. Meaning in Arabic, and many of his core instructions are not fully explained. Here's an example that is relevant to the issue of FGM. Quran 30 verse 30. So direct your face towards the religion, inclining to the truth, adhere to the Fitra of Allah upon which he has created all people. No change should there be in the creation of Allah. That is the correct religion, but most people do not know. I want to keep that passage on the screen. The funny thing about this passage is that though this is the passage that established female circumcision. Actually, it is. When you are discussing female circumcision in Islam, this is the passage that is crucial. Yet, Muslims use this passage to say that female circumcision is not allowed in Islam. And how they do it is that they focus on the second part of the passage. They say, no change should there be in the creation of Allah. And they say, you see, the Quran is saying that people should not change God's creation. They should not change Allah's creation. This is the proof that FGM is not an Islamic practice. If it is an Islamic practice, Muslims will not be commanded by Almighty Allah not to change the creation of Allah. Okay, and as we will see much later as we look at this video, we realize that is not actually what the classic Islamic understanding is on this verse. This verse, when it says the creation of Allah, is not referring to the human body or the body of a human being. Okay? And the word Fitra in the Quran is what establishes the practice of FGM. And that's what makes this verse very important. Okay? If you are discussing with a Muslim, you meet a Muslim person and they're telling you FGM is not an Islamic, it's not mentioned in the Quran. Say, okay, what does Quran 30 verse 30 talk about? What is it talking about? What does that passage talk about? And then watch them give you their important of this verse. Of course, they are going to say something that is far from the truth. Towards the religion, inclining to the truth, adhere to the Fitra of Allah upon which he has created all people. No change should there be in the creation of Allah. That is the correct religion, but most people do not know. Literally, the impression that Muslims shouldn't change the creation of Allah. I guess that means no facelift or BBL for Muslims, right? Okay, this is my first attempt to make a joke. I don't think that joke landed. I guess Muslims that you should not, as a Muslim, engage, no Brazilian butt lift, no facelift, nothing for Muslims. You are not supposed to do surgery of any kind. So, if you're a Muslim and you're watching this and you look up to Kim Kardashian, sorry, you cannot be like her. Good for you anyway. Good for you. One of the good things to come out of Islam. One of the good things to come out of Islam, I guess. Yeah.
Right? But does that also include FGM or male circumcision as well? Indeed, many Muslims who argue that FGM isn't an Islamic practice love to use this verse to justify their moderate position. But as always, these Muslims are lying by omission. They fail to mention that Islam allows some changes to Allah's creation. A Muslim
Not
must
just
shave his mustache.
not just changes to Allah's creation. Okay, because some people will interpret that verse as not changes to Allah's creation, but mutilation. They will say this verse, which is one thing that Muslims do. They read something into the verse that the verse is clearly not saying, right? They do it all the time. Muslims will say this verse that says, no changes should there be in the creation of Allah is talking about mutilation, right? That this verse is talking about mutilation. You can see clearly that that's what this verse is talking about, even though it is not clear. Okay, but let's take it that that's what this verse is somehow talking about. It still is not true that mutilation is not permitted in Islam. It is. There are so many. For example, Muslims for the most part will not deny. This is the funny thing. Muslims for the most part will not deny that male circumcision is permissible at the very least. Now they will agree at the very least, even though the majority view is that it is mandatory. It is wajib. That is the view. It is wajib. But at the very least, maybe you follow the Hanafi school of Islamic jurisprudence, right? At the very least, you admit that male circumcision is permissible in Islam. Muslims do not deny that. But is that not a form of mutilation? Is it because the world has not come to the point where they're like, we need to stop this practice as well? That is why Muslims are acting like, oh well, the problem is females, not males, and we say no to mutilation except when it is, when it is happening to men. Then we are like, oh, we are opposed to mutilation when it has to do with men. What about commands given in the Quran to cut people by their hands and cut them by their legs and mutilate them essentially because they stole or something? What about those commands? Are these not commands that say go out there and mutilate people? So the idea that mutilation is not an Islamic practice, or the Quran says there should be no changes to the creation of Allah, excludes all forms of mutilation, is just not true. When you look at what is obtainable in Islam, it's just not true. Yeah, pubes and armpit. He must cut his nails and be circumcised. They can even dye his beard. The first 5 bodily alterations that I just mentioned, at least for men, are in fact not a disputed obligation in Islam. These are known as Fitra. Fitra is mentioned right there in Quran 30 verse 30, the same verse telling Muslims not to change Allah's creation. That's the only verse that uses that word, and there is no way to know what it means if we go solely by the Quran. Just as Muslims won't know the times for Salat, the length of Ramadan, or how to give zakat by relying solely on the Quran. Even the Quran tells Muslims not to rely solely on the Quran. 91 verses instruct them to also adhere to the commands of Muhammad. Here are some examples. Quran 30 verse 132. Obey Allah. Exactly. You can see I said Quran 30 instead of Quran 3 verse 132. This will be Quran 3. I said Quran 30 in the video. Quran 3 verse 132 says, obey Allah and the messenger that you may obtain mercy. There are 91 verses like this, telling Muslims, obey Allah, obey the messenger. Obey Allah
and the messenger that you may obtain mercy. Quran 4 verse 14. But those who disobey Allah and his messenger and transgress his limits will be admitted to a fire.
You will find this. Wherever he's talking about obeying Allah, the next person you are also to obey is Muhammad and his messenger. Obey Allah and his messenger. Do this to Allah and his messenger. Do this to Allah and his messenger. Listen to Allah and his messenger. Listen to Allah and his messenger. Listen to Allah and Muhammad, Allah and Muhammad, Allah and Muhammad, repeated over and over again. That's why I said it is equal weight put to both words from both people or both persons. One is the God of the religion, and the other one is also the God of the religion.
To abide therein. Quran 5:59. If you disagree over anything, refer it to Allah and the messenger. If you believe in Allah and the last day, it is a fact of Islam that a good devout Muslim must follow Allah's commandments and the commands of Muhammad. But the commands of Muhammad are not in the Quran. They are in a separate set of books called the Hadiths and Sirat. The Hadiths are narrations.
I'm giving basic Islamic. Just said 91 times. One thing more, made sure they absorb. It's essential. No, listen, the truth is Muhammad is crucial to the religion of Islam. That is why when Muslims say things like Abraham was a Muslim and Adam was a Muslim, I'm like, no, Abraham and the rest, we are not listening to Muhammad. Muhammad was not around during the time of Abraham and the rest to tell them what to do, because essentially that's what Muslims do today. They follow Muhammad to the T. Everything he said, they are to do. They are to interpret, or at the very least to consider. His words are not things to just toss aside. You cannot disallow. This is the thing some people don't know about Islam. You cannot disallow what Muhammad has permitted. If Muhammad said this is permissible, you as a mere mortal, all right, you don't come and say, well, we are now liberal, or we are now progressive, or medicine has taught us that this is a bad practice and we need to stop it. Who are you? Are you telling me that you are greater than the prophet? You are wiser than the prophet? You are wiser than the God who said we should listen to the prophet? Okay? Muhammad's words is the weight they carry is more. Muhammad's words are more weighty in Islam than the words of any science textbook. Muhammad's words are more important and more valuable than anything you find in any medical textbook in the world. Anyone, no matter how strong the scientific evidence is for anything, it is inconsequential when it comes to what Muhammad has said. It does not change the ever-present wisdom of the Quran. That is why you have many, what people will call radical sects in Islam today, that reject science completely. Like Boko Haram. People don't know this about Boko Haram, but the founder of the religion rejected so many scientific claims. He rejected the fact that the earth is round. Said the earth is not round, it is flat. That guy is somebody that Candace Owens would be proud of. Why did he reject the fact that the earth is round? Because the Quran does not say the earth is round. According to the Quran, the earth is flat. And for that reason, the founder of Boko Haram is like, no, when science disagrees with my prophet, I choose my prophet over what any science textbook or any science discovery says. So that is the weight. I want you to understand the weight that is placed on the words of Muhammad. That is why a practice like cousin marriage or child marriage cannot end. That is why also a practice like FGM cannot just end in the Muslim world, because for laws, the truth is, for FGM to end in the Muslim world, or for child marriage or other like cousin marriage and other stuff like that, for these things to end, for them to really end in the Muslim world, Muslims on their own just have to decide to stop doing it. Right? They just have to decide, like, because some of these practices are sunnah. That means it's not obligatory, it's optional in Islam. They're not obligatory practice. You are not commanded expressly. It is not written that you must do this. Okay? It is an optional practice. It is optional for you to marry 4 wives. It is optional for you to marry your cousin in Islam. It is optional for you to marry a child. So the Muslims on their own just have to decide that, we are not going to do this anymore. That is the only way. But if you are expecting that a law, that is why many of the associations trying to end some of these practices just ignore the religious authorities and try to, convince the people on a grassroots level to just abandon this practice on their own. And they have not been succeeding, because it is problematic when you place so much respect on this man that lived in the 7th century. And this man that lived in the 7th century married his cousin and married a child. And then you are telling Muslims that, on your own, you should no longer practice this because it's not really nice. Let's not even talk about the religion. Just you on your own. I mean, it's not mandatory. Just you on your own should just stop it. It's like you trying to convince them that their prophet also, their prophet is also wrong and is somebody whose way of life they should abandon. Essentially, that's what you are telling them. So it's even that approach is not going to be effective. What is usually more effective in stopping practices like this is for the authorities, the political authority in those countries to make a law banning it, and also have the police enforce that law, strictly enforce the law. Have both a political and cultural posture that shows that they are no longer going to tolerate such practice.
That is the only way to stop this. If you don't have that posture, and both politically, legally, culturally, against that practice, where it is clear to everyone that everybody is against this practice, it is not going to stop. But political authorities in many of these countries can't do that, because they are risking a serious protest if they do. Because that is so un-Islamic. It is so un-Islamic. It is as, again, you should know that in the Hadiths, Muhammad told his followers not to follow any leader if that leader is making innovations to the religion that is contrary to what is already established in the religion. So if there is something that Muhammad has established, a political leader, an Islamic political leader who comes up and says, no, this practice should no longer be followed, is a sinner. And the Muslim is not to follow that leader. So even these religious political leaders know that doing that is going to anger the public. It's going to anger the Islamic public, the Muslim public that they have to govern. Imagine in a country like Egypt, 90, how many percent of Egyptian? 90-something% Muslim, right? This is the birthplace of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is one nation, one country that has given the world a good number of prominent radicals, right? Many prominent radicals in the world. He come from Egypt. This is the hotbed. Okay, this is where one of the greatest Islamic universities is situated in. This is Egypt. Okay, imagine a country like that is deep into Islam, and then the dictator in charge is like, I want my people to be progressive. Okay, I want to introduce progressive laws. And when I say progressive, I don't mean LGBTQ kind of progress. I mean real, actual progressive laws. I want to introduce those to my people. And this is what you stand to. Already your position is always shaking. A country like Egypt, there is always that tendency for political instability. You always want to do everything to appease the crowd, because the legitimacy of your hold on power is always shaky. And then you think the government is going to be like, yes, now the next thing we are going to do is to ban FGM. Really? ban FGM. When the Muslims in Egypt follow the Shafi school of Islamic law, and the Shafi school, here's the funny thing about the Shafi school. The Shafi school says FGM is mandatory. Shafi school is not like the part of the Hanbali school or the Maliki school or the Hanafi school that are like FGM is wajib for males and sunnah for females, right? The Hanafi school go as far as saying that FGM is sunnah for both males and females, right? But the Shafi'ites are like, no, this is mandatory. It is wajib for both men and women. And people in Egypt, people in Somalia, all right, are following the Shafi school. So from their understanding from their interpretation of the Quran and the Hadiths, they've come to the conclusion that this practice is wajib. Okay, according to what they understand, Allah is saying you must do it. A girl, your female children must be circumcised. Okay, this is like God telling Abraham, circumcise all the male, every male in your household. Okay, that's the same weight. Okay, and that's the same duty of every Muslim. Circumcise every female in your household. And now this is what they believe. This is what they are following. This is what their imam tells them when they go to the mosque. And this imam, even though they don't have political authority, they have cultural authority. They are very prominent. Okay, they can stir up the people to protest. They really have that level of power. Look, as somebody who lives in Nigeria, I know the kind of power that imams weigh amongst the people. Especially when you are a very popular imam that people follow and people love and people respect. So imagine the imam is telling them, yes, This is the correct interpretation. This is what you must follow. If your women are not circumcised, they are dirty, they are dishonorable. In fact, there is a mufti, an Egyptian mufti that said that it is the Jews that is trying to stop the Muslims from circumcising their females because they want the Muslim females to be unclean. So imagine you have such muftis in a place like Egypt, and then a political power is just going to come in and be like, okay, we want to appease the West. We want to appease the UN. We want to appease UNICEF. And now we are going to ban FGM. Even when they succeed, right? This is another funny thing. Even when they succeed in banning, let's say they make a law banning the practice, that law is not enforced. That law is as good as not being in place. It's as good as not even existing at all. This is what you are dealing with the practice of FGM or another barbaric practices that Islam has preserved. Because FGM, of course, Muslims are going to say FGM did not start with Islam. FGM existed way before Islam. Of course, this is the funny thing about FGM is that infibulation, which is like the most abhorrent, barbaric, traumatizing form of FGM, where they sew up the female part, try to close it and leave a little hole just for urine, which is called pharaonic circumcision. The worst kind was practiced in a place like Egypt way before Muhammad was born. But now imagine that this is a practice that was existing in Egypt for a very long time, and then Islam comes along and tells the Muslims that, oh, this practice is good. Continue doing it. Okay? In fact, we are codifying it in other Sharia and we are saying it is a must. Continue doing it. That is the evil of Islam. You see a barbaric practice that left on its own would die out. Left on its own will gradually, Egyptians, you have to also keep in mind that the birthplace of modern civilization as we know it is Egypt. That's where all the philosophies and the thought processes and what have you, that was these practices of sitting down and thinking and philosophizing for the most part began in Egypt, right? Or at least that's what some version of the story say. So the area has that capacity to think itself out of the practice, right? To philosophize itself out of the practice. But then you bring a religion that stifles that, hinders that, cut it short and say, you know what? No. Everything you have from now onward, maintain it. That is how you should be forever. That is essentially the evil of when you combine FGM with Islam. That's the evil that has been, given as a gift, as the legacy of the religion on the entire world. You have places like Indonesia. Indonesia historically did not practice FGM. FGM was not a historic practice in Indonesia, but now 49% of Muslims of women in Indonesia have been circumcised. 49% between the ages of 15 and 49. And the non-Muslim population of Indonesia don't practice FGM. They don't. That is one proof that this is an Islamic practice. When you look at the country of like Indonesia, you see the proof. This is proof that this is an Islamic practice because the only people who do this are Muslims. They are the only ones who do it. The same thing in India. The Dawoodi Bohra community. So many of these things that I'm mentioning are already in the video, but I already have the information in my head, so I don't think there is any need for me to continue watching it. I guess it's even good that this is what is, on screen, and I can just keep rambling and ranting about my hatred for FGM, if you will permit me. Flicking Bullock said, don't call it circumcision, call it mutilation. I use, even in the videos, I use the term interchangeably. And the reason why I do it, why I call it, at one point I call it mutilation, at the other point I call it circumcision, is that this is another, Muslims are very crafty, okay? They've learned to be very crafty, or at least the apologists of Islam. They've learned to be very crafty.
one of the rebuttals that Muslims make to the claim that FGM is practiced in Islam is that they say that female circumcision is not mutilation. They say that mutilation is a word. There are videos of this on YouTube. You can go and search it. Muslims talking about this. They say the word mutilation was introduced by the West to demonize the practice. So essentially, the practice was good, it was okay, it was great, right? Until these satanic Westerners came and called it mutilation because they wanted to demonize the practice. So imagine that is what you are dealing with. Muslims do this all the time. They play this definition game, especially when they want to justify. There are two phases when you are dealing with barbaric practice that is sunnah or wajib, right? When you're dealing with barbaric practices that is permissible in Islam. There is the first stage of the conversation where Muslims are just deny. It wasn't me phase. That is the more, how will I put it? That is the phase that is, for me, it is easier to deal with them on that phase because all you have to do is just put the facts in front of them and watch them, try to act like, like that is not the case until they realize that they can no longer ignore it, right? So when they realize that they can no longer ignore it, they have to accept this is indeed an Islamic problem. We have to do something about this, right? You've gotten them to that point. You've achieved huge success, right? When we are dealing with Muslims in that phase, that is the best phase to be at. The next phase is when they are in the defense or defense phase. When they are in the phase of defending it, we have a problem here. Because, denying that a very hideous practice like FGM is Islamic is easy for a Muslim to do. You can understand it. I mean, many Muslims don't understand what is written in the Quran or what is written in the Hadith or why they follow what they follow, right? So many of them move to the West and believe that, we are even born in the West. So they believe, FGM, a practice like this cannot be Islamic. There's no way it is Islamic. They meet some liberal scholars and liberal Muslim preachers who will not claim to be liberal, but actually they are liberal. Or let's not use the word liberal because, sorry, my internet is at work again. Elon Musk, what have I done to deserve this? Anyway, so moderate Muslims, let me not call them liberal Muslims. Moderate Muslims and moderate Muslim scholars and Muslim preachers will tell them, actually, this is not an Islamic practice, especially when these are Muslims coming from places like Pakistan, right? Because Pakistan and people from Indonesia, Muslims from Indonesia are part of the Hanafi school, right? These are people from the Hanafi school. And people from the Hanafi school, their understanding of female circumcision in general, both male and female, is that it is sunnah. And they don't talk about it. In fact, both male and female circumcision is not practiced by Muslims from Pakistan, for example. It's something that they don't practice. Okay? So especially when you deal with those ones, they'll tell you, this has no place in Islam. This is not an Islamic practice. Of course, Muhammad will never say such a thing. So it makes sense when you meet such a Muslim and you tell them, actually, this is an Islamic practice. And they're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And they're shocked. They're like, is this really true? What this person is telling me, is it? I get it. They're skeptical. They're shocked. They're getting new information. So, of course, the reaction is, I really don't believe that this is this cannot be. My religion is perfect. It's good. You get? So I understand that. I understand that reaction. I even understand coming up with arguments to not defend, but to deny that the practice is Islamic. I understand that. But when they start defending it, that is where I'm like, I've lost this person. When you see someone who is like, is now defending, it's just like when you see Daniel Hakikachu defending child marriage. You've lost this person. You've not lost the argument. Of course you can win the argument, but this person and the people who follow this person, people who talk like this person, you've lost them. Because these are people who are not just going to abandon the practice, they're not justifying the practice. And amongst those people, when it comes to FGM, are the ones who say FGM is not mutilation. That mutilation is the evil Islamophobic Westerners that invented the terminology mutilation just so they can demonize, a very normal Islamic practice.
What is the problem with FGM? It's really not that. In fact, then they say this one. There's one video I saw when I was researching the topic where the person was saying, the Muslim preacher was saying that there is this hadith. It's a weak hadith. So Muhammad saw a woman who was circumcising a girl child, and then he told the woman who was engaging in the circumcision that she should not cut too much. Okay, that she should not exaggerate in her cutting. She should be moderate in her cutting. It's a weak hadith, by the way, but they quote it because, of course, that's one thing about weak hadiths. 1 minute, a weak hadith is something that, if you mention that Muslims believe that they will have 72 virgins in heaven or in paradise, Muslims will be like, that's a weak hadith. But when it comes to female circumcision, all of a sudden weak hadiths are also important. Anyway, so that's a weak hadith, and they will quote it and say, you see, that this is circumcision in Islam. Circumcision is in Islam. It's not like cutting. It's not infibulation. It's just clitoridectomy, right? That's just what it is. It's just just small cutting of the clitoris. It's not really like cutting, the labia majora or stuff like that, or sewing it together. No, that's not Sunnah circumcision. That's what they call it. Sunnah circumcision. Now, Sunnah circumcision is just cutting a pinch of the of the clitoris. Now, this is the funny thing about everything that these preachers are, people or defenders of the practice are describing. There is no place where this is practiced. There is no place where what people cut when they are cutting the clitoris is just a pinch. Is it that they are cutting all of it, or they are not cutting it at all? There is no moderate cutting. And even if it is half or it is full, or how deep or how shallow you cut the clitoris, it is painful. It is still very painful and traumatizing and unnecessary and harmful. It is still all of those. Like you trying to, it's not, we are actually not doing there's this one they call the pharaonic circumcision, which is just another word for infibulation. And they're like, the infibulation kind of circumcision is haram. Islam does not, encourage that. The words of Muhammad does not. Meanwhile, during the Islamic slave trade, female slaves were infibulated. Like, infibulation was what was done to every single one of them. Okay, every single one of these female slaves coming from Africa were circumcised, and it was the most horrific kind. Where they sew up the vagina and leave only a small. And the reason why this was done was because you are bringing in slaves, and these slaves are going to be shared among like the commanders in Islam, or the leaders, right? The leaders of the caliphate, then whoever those leaders were. So you want your slaves to be preserved for you, your sex slave to be solely for you. You don't want them to be touched, right? So what you do is one of the way you ensure that they will not be touched is by infibulating them, like by sealing and then the male slaves that you capture, you castrate them. You castrate them so that they can guard your female slaves. This is what Islam did in Africa. This is just the history of Islamic slavery in Africa was sex slavery for the most part. The males were turned to eunuchs and used to guard the female slaves who were infibulated. But of course there is an exaggerated this Muslim preachers who try to defend circumcision will say, oh, that one is haram. Okay, so what about those Muslims that were practicing it then? Were they practicing was it a practice for them then that was haram? No, it wasn't. It was a perfectly halal practice. That's why my thumbnail for the video has like the tools used for female circumcision, and then you have the stamp, the halal stamp on it. Because it is 100%, this is 100% halal. That is what it was. And that is what it is still. And if you don't address this, I don't understand. I really don't understand why the rest of the world, the international bodies and international organizations and non-profit organizations, why it is easy for them to hold non-Muslim population and non-Muslim societies accountable. When it comes to holding non-Muslim societies accountable for barbaric practices, they do not shy away from it. They do not, even when it is not necessary, they will still accuse them of something. They do not shy away from it. I've read articles condemning, let's say, a society like South Africa for doing this to women. Even though you're like, okay, I get your complaint, but maybe you should see it from their point of view, how they view this practice, or try to tone it down a little bit. I'm like, there are other places where your anger is needed, right? There are other places where your aggressive nature is needed. Why don't you channel it there? Why waste so much of it here when you can? When you can just target this to this imam. I have one imam that I want you to write your article about. Expose him. Look at what this imam is preaching. Look at what this group are advocating for. Look at what this practice, this school of Islamic jurisprudence is enforcing and demanding. And they shy away from that. But when it comes to non-Muslim societies condemning a practice in the non-Muslim, they cannot wait. The only, as far as I know, the only Muslim community in the world that I've seen activists and what have you, and all these non-profit organizations call out by name when it comes to condemning FGM amongst that community is the Dawoodi Bohra community in India. They call it out by name. They say the Dawoodi Bohra community and a Shia Islamic sect in India practice FGM. That is when it comes to Africa, they don't say the Shafi school, the people who follow the Shafi school of Islamic law, Sharia law, are the ones practicing FGM in Africa. When you look at it, you realize that although the Dawoodi Bohra community encourage and mandate, actually not just encourage, they mandate FGM for Dawoodi Bohra community. FGM is mandatory. But the truth is, when you compare the Dawoodi Bohra community with other Sunni community, other Sunni groups in Islam, right? The Dawoodi Bohra community is pretty liberal. It's like they don't have, they won't buy it. It's like these activists go for people they know will not fight back, people who will not plead Islamophobia, people who when you criticize them they will listen. So they go for those ones because they know people in the Dawoodi Bohra community, as much as the practice still has a firm hold on that group, they are more likely to listen. It's the case of the people who are not practicing, who are not the real issue, are the ones being treated as though they are the real issue. Why don't you go directly call out the Shafi school? Say the Shafi school is wrong. What I want from Muslim activists is to say the Shafi school is wrong. The Shafi school is wrong. Somebody is asking, does it happen in Malaysia? I'm not sure. I'll have to Google it. But I think it does, because FGM happens in Saudi Arabia, FGM happens in Yemen, FGM happens in Oman, FGM happens in countries you think even in Jordan, in the United Arab Emirates, FGM is practiced in those places. Even in Nigeria, my great country, FGM is practiced there. So let me check Indonesia. Indonesia has a 49. Oh, I mentioned it already. Why did I? Not Indonesia, Malaysia. Sorry. And from the studies that have been conducted, the prevalency of FGM is about 99% in Malaysia. 99% in the Muslim population in Malaysia. Let me share
Let me share the. This is. I didn't even check Malaysia. I was checking other countries and I didn't check Malaysia. What? This is the part of the article that talks about it. This is the study that mentions it. There are only a handful of published studies of FGM on FGM in Malaysia. No official data relating to its practice from the studies have been conducted. The prevalence of FGM is about 99% in the Muslim community in Indonesia, 99%. But of course, we can keep speculating about how FGM became a practice in South Asia, of all places, a place where FGM was never a thing historically, never practiced historically. How did it become a thing in South Asia? Of course, Islam. Yeah. But Muslims would like to pretend like that's not the case. Anyways, let's I've said so many things in this video. Let me see if I can get to a part okay, let's look at this part. I think it let's look at some of these hadiths that I mentioned, because I think it's crucial to the conversation.
And Quran 24 verses 48 and 49. The credible hadiths also set detailed guidelines on how Sharia operates, especially in the political sphere of Islam. Whoever obeys Muhammad obeys Allah. Whoever disobeys him disobeys Allah. Also, whoever obeys the ruler Muhammad appoints obeys Muhammad, and whoever disobeys that ruler disobeys Muhammad. The only time a Muslim can disobey his ruler is when obeying them will mean disobeying Allah. A Muslim should reject the ruling of a leader.
He who innovates things in our affairs for which there is no valid reason commits sin, and these are to be rejected. Aisha reported Allah's messenger as saying, he who innovates things in our affairs for which there is no valid reason commits sin, and these are to be rejected.
If he makes an innovation without a valid reason, which is sinful. Also, if they innovate something that is not in...
Narrated Aisha, Allah's apostle said, if somebody innovates something which is not in harmony with the principles of our religion, that thing is rejected. Let me read it again. If somebody narrates innovation, if somebody innovates something which is not in harmony with our principles or with the principles of our religion, that thing is rejected.
Harmony with the principles of Islam, that should be rejected as well. Now, there are 4 schools of Sharia law in Sunni Islam, and they unanimously permit the practice of FGM, but they differ on whether the practice is obligatory, honorable, or permissible. This difference exists because Islamic jurists often refer to contestable hadiths when reaching a decision. Some hadiths which are...
I have to mention that they refer to contestable hadiths. There are 7 hadiths on FGM, so only 2 of them, only 2 are not up for debate to be sahih. The rest are debatable. The funny thing is, in the past, they were not up for debate. Like some of them in the past, it was seen as Hassan, or some were even seen as sahih, right? But now that, you know, people are focusing on Islam and talking about what is FGM in Islam, Muslims are now like, hey, well, let's look at this hadith once again to be sure if it is actually credible. Is this actually a credible hadith? You know, there are 7 hadiths. The 5 of them are not credible. Only 2 are credible. Only 2.
Graded daif or weak, narrates that Muhammad says circumcision is obligatory for men and honorable for women.
And this is the hadith right here.
Some hadiths which are graded
this
daif
is one of
or
them.
weak,
There are many.
narrates that Muhammad said,
but this is one of them. It says this person said the prophet related that the prophet said circumcision is a law for men and a preservation of honor for women. And this is the funny thing about this hadith. As much as Muslims will say, you see, the Quran does not mandate, or at least, or not the Quran, the hadith does not mandate FGM for women. It uses words like honorable, a preservation of honor for women. You cannot use a word like preservation of honor for women and expect people who are listening to you to be like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. Of course, you're going to create a social stigma around people who don't engage in FGM. Like, you're just going to do that because they're going to see as people whose honor has not been preserved. That is what you are going. That's what you're going to end up creating in society. A condition that makes people want to circumcise their female children.
Circumcision is obligatory for men.
But of course, this is not a strong hadith. This is a weak hadith because, of course, the Muslims recognize that this does not look good. Okay, and the thing about this hadith
these hadiths, these 5 hadiths, the thing about them is that they specify. The Sahih hadiths don't specify which gender is, like they just say circumcision. They don't specify is it male or is it female. Or the second one does, but it does not talk about circumcision in particular. It's talking about something else and then mention circumcision as like by the way, like we are talking about a known something, right? But the ones that talk about circumcision directly, of the 7 hadiths, the ones that are not Sahih mention female circumcision. They talk essentially or especially about female circumcision, mentioned expressly. Okay, and that is why Muslims try to debate whether they are credible or not, because those are the ones that are specific. And they in their mind, I think they think in their mind that if we can debate the credibility of the ones that specifically mention female circumcision, we can somehow prove that female circumcision is not a thing in Islam. Not knowing that the hadiths that don't specify whether male circumcision or female circumcision are just as damaging. In fact, in my opinion, they do more damage than the ones that specify female circumcision. The ones the hadiths that just say circumcision without specifying male or female is more damaging, because we know by that when Muhammad said circumcision, he meant both men and women. Right? Anyway, we'll look at the hadiths. Let me not say too much without hadiths on the screen to support what I'm saying. And honorable for women. That is why the Maliki school holds that circumcision is wajib or mandatory for males and sunnah or optional for females. Jurists of Hanafi school even go as far as saying that circumcision is sunnah or optional for both males and females. But the same can be said of the Hanbalites or the Shafi'ites. Some jurists of the Hanbali school hold the same view as the Maliki school. That means they hold that, like the Maliki school, that it is wajib for males and sunnah for females. However, others hold the view of the Shafi school, which holds that circumcision is wajib or mandatory for both males and females. This might seem radical, but honestly, how else can you interpret Quran 30 verse 30? All right, I put everything on the screen here. I hope I did highlight them. So this is the Quran verse. This is the Hadith. This is Sahih Bukhari. As you can see, this is Sahih Bukhari 5889. Sahih Bukhari. 5 practices are characteristics of the Fitra: circumcision, shaving the pubic region, clipping the nails, and cutting the mustache short. The mustaches short. So it is clearly listed: circumcision, shaving the pubes, clipping the nails. Of course, when it says shaving the pubes, other hadiths will say circumcision, plucking the armpit hair, shaving the pubes, cutting the nails, and trimming the mustache. These are this is how other instances of this or other translation of this will say, because of course this is a translation of Arabic. This is not how it is actually written in Arabic, right? So these are like what Fitra is. Fitra that we find in Quran 3 verse 30. What Fitra means when we look at the hadith is 5 things, and one of them is circumcision, right? So we understand this about Sahih Bukhari 5889. If all other hadiths and then we understand that this hadith is weak, right? This issue are weak and unreliable, and we know that circumcision. And then this hadith tells us that, the Messenger of Allah said, when anyone sits amidst 4 parts of a woman, this is one of the funny things about the Quran. Grown men, the story behind this hadith is that grown men, we are sitting together discussing when should they take a bath, when should they wash themselves. When should they go and wash themselves. It was a serious dispute in amongst Muslims in Arabia. This is what grown men we are sitting about to discuss. And Aisha had to tell them when they should go and take their bath, based on what she said she had the Messenger of Allah say. And according to her, because it was Aisha that was narrating this, according to her, the Messenger of Allah said, when anyone sits amidst 4 parts, and the circumcised part of a man, although this does not explain categorically, but if you read other translations of this hadith, it says the circumcised part of a man touches the circumcised part of a woman. Meaning, when Muhammad was saying circumcision, those who were listening to him, everyone understood that he was referring to both male
and female circumcision, because in Banu Quraysh, the Banu Qurayshi tribe in Mecca, that's Muhammad's tribe, and some in Medina, we are practicing female circumcision as well as male circumcision. So it is understood what circumcision is all about, both men and women. So if you join these hadiths together, which are the only credible hadiths on the subject, right? Bukhari 291 and Bukhari what now? Forget it. So this issue out. Bukhari 5889. When you combine both of them together, what you get is that both men and women should be circumcised, mandatory, because Fitra does not give, it's not optional. Fitra is mandatory to both males and females. Then the logical conclusion is that both males and females must view circumcision as they view other acts.
Did I freeze again? Guys, did I freeze? Sorry. Did I freeze for a very long time? Did I freeze for a long time? Am I unfrozen or am I still frozen? Sorry. Sometimes I get carried away and just keep talking. If I'm still frozen, let me know. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Copen. Thank you. It's all good. Yeah. Thank you. So when you put all those things that I just put on the screen and read from the screen, when you put all of them together, you come to the conclusion that the Shafi'ites were correct. The Shafi school is the correct school. Every other school in Islam, they got it wrong, essentially, because they were all basing their judgment and their view on weak hadiths. Who does that, right? We should only consider credible hadiths. Now, the truth is, Muslims consider weak hadiths all the time. This talk about, oh, this is graded Daif, this is graded Hassan, this is graded Sahih. Yes, Sahih has more weight than Hassan, and Hassan has more weight than Daif. But it doesn't mean that they don't consider Daif. If they were not to be considered, they will have been destroyed. When Muslims don't want to consider something, they destroy it. We know that historically. That's what they do. Okay? So they kept the Daif there because they go to it every once in a while and create doctrines based on what is written. That's how Muslims believe in and preach 72 virgins. Okay? We are not the ones who are just making fun of Muslims when we point out that a weak hadith said they will get 72 virgins. Muslims themselves have been told by their imams and mufti and the jurists that they will get 72 virgins. You know. If it isn't gender specific, like trimming the mustache, then it's definitely obligatory for both men and women. Shia jurists also uphold the practice of female. Yeah, the funny thing is that this is not just something among Sunni Islam. It's also something that you find among Shia Muslims. Circumcision. Ayatollah Khomeini, the lead jurist of Jafari, says FGM is permissible but not obligatory, except when a husband requires it. Look at that. So, as a woman, you shouldn't. It's not a must for you to be circumcised or mutilated. But if your husband is like, I don't trust you, go and get infibulated. Go and sew up that place completely, so that I will be sure that you are not. And people need to understand the goal of FGM. You know, I read so the 4 parts of a woman. You had it correctly. The 4 parts of a woman. Yes, that's what the hadith say. Don't ask me. That's what the hadith say. That's what the hadith say. Anyway, so this is something people need to understand about FGM and why it is practiced. Yes, FGM is practiced to promote chastity amongst women or to ensure chastity amongst women. Now, people believe that, or those who talk about FGM say, is actually those parts that are being cut off are the parts responsible for, making women like very sexually active, right? And that when those parts are cut out, the women will become less sexually active. I don't think that is why FGM is practiced. The reason why FGM is practiced yes, it is practiced because you want to promote chastity, but not based on some scientific fact that the chastity of a woman is tied to her clitoris or something. And again, you can't fully remove the clitoris. If that's something you should also understand. Yeah, what is removed is the outer surface of the clitoris, but the clitoris goes deeper than that, and you can't really fully remove all of it. Okay? But the reason why FGM is practiced is and why how FGM is effective in reducing or ensuring the chastity of women is that it is used psychologically to associate sex with pain for women. That is the goal of FGM. That is why in modern society today, even in places that are not extremely poor like Egypt, when FGM is done, when the mutilation is being carried out, anesthesia is not given to these girls. They have to feel that pain because that pain is crucial. That is how FGM becomes effective. The goal is to make women associate pain with sex. That is how then they are not able to abstain. That is the goal. In fact, infibulation doesn't just achieve that, but it also seals up the infibulation is worse because it closes the vaginal hole, closes it, such that many women who get infibulated, when they get married, they have to go and get that place that has been sewn together detached for consummation to occur. Some of them, even who do not need to have that done to them for consummation, need to have that done to them when they want to give birth, because it will not be possible for the child to come out with their vagina in that state. And after they have given birth, the vagina that it gets sewed back again. That is how it is effective in ensuring chastity. It is just, let us ensure that the only time this woman will be okay, or will be okay to want to engage in sexual relationship would be with her husband. It will only have to be with her husband, because when she thinks about sex, all she will have to think about is pain. That is how it works. Trauma is an essential part of the practice, and the goal of the trauma is to make people abstain. So in that is how FGM is effective. The whole pain, the whole traumatic experience surrounding it is the goal. That is the goal of the practice. That is how the practice is effective. You know, permissible but not obligatory, except when a husband requires it. The only prominent Jafari with an opposing view is the Ayatollah of Iraq, who prohibited FGM in 2014. The Ismaili school is just like the Shafi'ites. It holds that FGM is mandatory for both males and females, and they have a huge following in the Shia community in India, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and East Africa. The thing about Joe said they hate women. Yeah, Islam is a religion. I was watching a video by the apostate prophet on FGM, and there's something he said. It's a good quote, and I'm like, it's very true. He said Islam is a religion of men for men and by men. It's a religion for men. It's a religion that is men-centered, men-focused. It's about men and no one else. Okay, women are treated as like, nah. This is why when women are like, nah, women say things like, I am more valued, or oh, my network is acting up again. Guys, bear with me. Anyway, so when women say things like, oh, Muslim women, you see Muslim women willfully, or you see a woman willfully convert to Islam, or you see Muslim women speak highly of the religion and stuff. I'm like, especially the ones in the West. I'm like, I need you to go to Egypt. I need you to go to Somalia. I need you to go to Nigeria, especially the northern part. I need you to go to places where there is a Muslim majority. And I need you to see how these women are treated. Because that is the real face of even Saudi Arabia. Go there and see how women are treated. That is the real face of the religion. What you are seeing in the West is Muslims trying to blend in with the Western society. That is what they are trying to do. And then they come up with things like hijab is a choice, and we are preserving the dignity of our women by covering them up fully. And, you need to understand that this is why we do this, is because we value women. We treat them like trash because we value them. Because whenever they say this, I'm like, if this is how you treat people you value, I really don't want to see how you treat people you don't value. If this is how you treat people you value, if this is how you show that you value someone,
I wonder how you treat people you don't value. You know. So yeah, that is what you find. That's what you find in Islam. Again, guys, I am going through because I realized that we just have more people. We just have got to over 40 people watching, and many people are like, "What's going on? What are we talking about?" We're talking about female genital mutilation. I'm reacting to a video that I made talking about the practice. A video that is on my second channel. The link to the second channel is in the title of the video of this live stream. Just click on the channel that is tagged, and it will take you to my second channel. There, I may have. That's where the video of what I'm talking about is. You can get the short version of everything I'm talking about from there. Here is where we talk about the long version. Okay, we give unnecessary details and we laugh about the issue as much as we can, and we stress out the important, grotesque, despicable part of the issue here. As we spell it out. We are uncensored here. We are detailed here. Okay, we describe what we are talking about in detail here. That's what we do here. Then on my other channel, we give you the short version for those who don't want to listen for 2 hours to somebody describe something so despicable. Okay, so that's what we are doing here right now. If you want to see the shorter version, follow my other channel and I will give you all the shots. I know I'm somebody who is known for making shots. Okay, funny enough, I'm not posting the shot on the channel that is notorious for the shots. I'm posting it on a different channel. I have my reasons, trust me, I do. If my reasons are not successful, I will revert back to the old method, okay, or to the old way of doing things. So I'm trying something out and I'm trying it with this new channel. And I hope it's successful, okay? I hope you guys should prove me right. Prove my theory that I'm testing out. Prove it right, okay? Because I want it to be right. I really want it to be right. Go there and watch the video. Subscribe to the channel. Do all the things you've done here. Go and do it there, okay? It's still the same Frank. I'll soon start posting shots over there. So go and follow that channel. Please do, okay? And God will richly bless you. Okay, so that's what we are talking about. And right now we are just giving details of some of the things that I mentioned in the video that I posted on the other channel. And now I want to go to the part where I want to go to this part. To violate Sahih Bukhari 2697. Hence, the final proof that FGM is indeed an Islamic practice is evidence in the sheer number of FGM cases involving Muslims. In Egypt, a country with a 90% Muslim population, 91% of females between the ages of 15 and 49 are victims of FGM. In Somalia, a country with a 99% Muslim population, 98% of females between the ages of 15 and 49 are victims of FGM. In Guinea, a country with an 89% Muslim population, 97% of females between the ages of 15 and 49 are victims of FGM. In Mali, a country with a 91% Muslim population, 91% of females between the ages of 15 and 49 are victims of FGM. In Sudan, a country with a 91% Muslim population, 88% of females between the ages of 15 and 49 are victims of FGM. In Indonesia, a country with an 87% Muslim population, 49% of females between the ages of 15 and 49 are victims of FGM. In India, FGM is only practiced by the Dawoodi Bohra community, a Shia sect of Islam predominant in South Asia. Thanks to mass migration, cases of FGM are now reported across Europe and gets the community involved. I can assure you that the parents of these girls in these cases don't bear name. Look at the headlines. Dramatic rise in women and girls being caught. New FGM data reveals. Dramatic. I like how the Guardian always act clueless. Like whenever they are reporting things, they act like, what is happening? We have no idea where this is coming from. They just pretend to be clueless because I don't believe that people can be this clueless. They're like, whoa, there is a dramatic rise in women and girls being caught. What could be the case? Why is it? Look at the sub headline. Say progress to prevent female needs to be 27 times faster, says the UN. Here's another one. Say the barbaric business of FGM is rising in Europe at the same time that you are having a huge influx of Muslims from North Africa and parts of the Middle East like Pakistan. And at the same time you are having this huge influx of Muslims to your community, to your country, you are seeing a rise in FGM.
something that that has not been an issue for you for Europeans for a very long time. Now it is now becoming an issue, and it is rising. And somehow people cannot be like, okay, let us connect the dots here. What is really going on here? What is happening here? We are this they had like Europeans suddenly are now changing their mind. It's like white people, a white guy named Johnson woke up one morning and told his wife named Vanessa, you know what? I think we should circumcise our daughters. Like he just woke up and suddenly he's like, let's do what the Egyptians were doing in 300 BC. That's how it happens. Okay, that's exactly how it happens. They're confused. They don't know what's happening. It's like Joseph and Agnes. Even in America, there are reported cases of FGM. In one case, the Muslims involved argued in court that criminalizing them. This one is the one I found very fun. This is a real case. Okay, real case happened in, I forgot, I think it's 2015 or so. Right. I will find, we'll look at that article. We'll look at this news story. Okay, we'll look at it. I'll find it and I'll pull it out. I will read the detail of what happened. Okay. So it will not be that I'm giving you half. That's why, like I said, here is where we go in depth and we, talk about everything that we are just mentioned in passing in the short clip that is available on my other channel. Right. Here the story is, a doctor and two parents rather, of two girls. I think it's two girls in this case because there's 2 counts of female genital mutilation. They were circumcising or mutilating their daughters, mutilating the genitals of their daughters, and they were caught. This is in Michigan. Now, the name, when you hear that this happened in Michigan, you can already imagine that it is Dearborn, Michigan. Of course, that is the that is the place. It has to be Michigan. Of course, it has to be Michigan, right? So, so these are Muslims in Michigan, Shia Muslims in Michigan, right? Who with genitally circumcised. Let me use the word that I'm familiar with. They just finished circumcising their daughters and they were arrested. And their lawyer is pleading, when he was giving statement to reporters, he said, my clients are being persecuted because of their religion. That is what she said. That is what they said. Oh, I think what's the name of? Okay. Smith. I guess Shannon Smith is a guy. So the guy told reporters that my clients are being persecuted because of their religious belief, because of their religion. That is why they are being targeted by this Islamophobic prosecution, trying to send them to prison for doing just doing the normal thing of practicing their religion. Isn't this the United States of America? Isn't this the land of the free and the home of the brave? Isn't this the land of freedom, of religious freedom? Don't I have religious rights? What are you talking about? That is what that is what this Muslim is. That's what this Muslim is arguing in court. That is what is going on. And we see things like this, and Muslims will still tell us that this is not an Islamic practice. That is this is one of the problems I have when you talk about certain issues that are Islamic. You even have people, not just one person, but group of people, a community, an entire country. You have them saying expressly, this is part of our religion. This is what our religion tells us to do. This is a law in our religion. This is it. This is our religious practice. This is what we do in the name of Allah. This is what we do because the Prophet tells us to do it. This is what we are doing because of the revelation that a 7th century, revolutionary came, had a revelation with the greatest of the greatest, and we got this divine revelation, and based on that revelation and based on his exploits, we've come to the conclusion that this is how we should live our life, and we are living our life based on this. They say it expressly. And after saying that, you have the UN, another organization, write articles saying FGM is not a religious practice. It is common among Christians, Jews, and Muslims. And I'm like,
People are not serious. This is why year after year, people will continue to be combating this thing. You will keep fighting FGM till Jesus comes. This is why you will continue to come. FGM is not going anywhere. It is not going as long as you continue treating this like this. It will not. How did the West get Muslim countries to end slavery? How did they do it? Were they this soft? Were they like, well, we slavery is not actually a religious practice. I mean, we the Europeans also engaged in slavery. Was that how they ended it? No, they mandated them, told them, if we cannot do business with you, if you don't stop this practice. What happened to the time when the West take this kind of posture when it comes to dealing with barbaric practices from Africa, Islamic countries? You just go straight up and say, look, you either stop this or we'll do this to you. Now, granted, slavery has not really ended in the Muslim world. It has not really ended. In fact, now that we have now that we have given it over to organizations that have U and N written in their acronym, there's a rise, right, in slavery, especially in the Middle East and in North Africa. There's become an increase in slavery. Okay, modern day slavery is still existing today. It did not stop. It's just that now it is, which is always the problem we have with how the Muslim world claim to change, right? They'll be like, oh, we are changing. We now make a law banning this practice. And the law is just useless, of no effect. Muslims still continue to carry out those practices and unchallenged, and all the UN is going to do is record it and be like, oh, actually in Algeria we found 6 million slaves. What are we going to do about it? Record it and write a report about it, and try as much as possible to not say these people are doing it because the Quran tells them that they can go ahead and do it. Instead, we'll write that even Christians had slaves in 1904. That's what we are going to do. At the end of the day, I feel like the UN, all they are good for is writing articles. Let's write another report. Okay, this is 2024 report on FGM. We've seen progress, a 2% decrease in FGM, in the FGM cases among the world. Let's not mention that 2% decrease is coming from the non-Muslim population. Instead, we are even seeing a regression amongst places in the Islamic world where we've made progress. Let's not mention that. Instead, let's speak in general terms, right? And talk about, generally, we've seen a 4% decrease. So progress are being made, but more can be done. We need more money. So we can use that money to write another report. That is what the UN is good for at the end of the day. Just writing reports. We have new reports, new updates. We are tracking the issue. And we are ensuring that nobody is Islamophobic when they talk about the issue. That is what the UN is good for eventually. For it impeded on their religious rights to genital mutilation. Exactly. A rough estimate of 80% of FGM cases in the world are the handiwork of Muslims. That's 184 million Muslim women. When you put these facts together, what other logical conclusion can you arrive at? This is an Islamic problem. I can already envision the possible rebuttals to my claim, and I can't wait to address them in the next episode. There, I will be responding to at least 10 rebuttals that Muslims usually make in a feeble attempt to distance Islam from FGM. If you don't want to miss it, then subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell right now. And by the channel, I mean, frankly speaking, go there right now. Okay? By the end of this live stream, I want to have like 1,000. See, we put 1,000 people watching right now. I want to have more subscribers. Anyways, so yeah, that is. I said something about my screen is frozen. Okay, it's no longer frozen. Or follow me on. I said something about looking at the full CNN story on FGM. Let me see if I can pull it up. History. All right, I found it. Found it, guys. So the headline says, prosecutor, brutal genital mutilation won't be tolerated in the United States. CNN, this is a report from the mighty CNN. 2 Michigan doctors and a medical officer and a medical office manager were indicted this week by a Detroit grand jury in the first federal female genital mutilation case in the United States. Detroit emergency room physician, Dr. this person, intern medical physician, Dr. this person, and his wife, Farida this person, face 1 count of conspiracy to commit female genital mutilation, 2 counts of female genital mutilation, and 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Dr. this person, 44, and the wife, 53, also face 1 count of conspiracy to transport a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, a charge that carries a potential sentence of up to life in prison. Both doctors also face 1 count each of making a false statement to a federal officer. Female genital mutilation has serious implications for the health and well-being of girls and women, said Daniel, this person, an acting U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. This brutal practice is conducted on girls for one reason: to control them as women. Of course, FGM will not be tolerated in the United States, the prosecutor said in a statement. The federal government is continuing this investigation to ensure those responsible are brought to justice. The lady perfectly pleaded not guilty. Oh, I say perfectly. The man, this is not the lady, the man rather, pleaded not guilty. You can see the face here of the man and his wife. I don't know if I can open this image. I doubt that I can. Anyway, the man and his wife pleaded not guilty during an arraignment Thursday in a Detroit federal court. The woman have not entered pleas, but the attorney argued that they are not guilty of all charges. According to the indictment and a criminal complaint filed against these people, the investigation into this person and the wife dates back to October of 2016. The FBI had received information that the banned procedure was being performed at this person's medical office in Michigan, west of Detroit. Court documents do not indicate the source of the information. Investigators saw 2 7-year-old girls and their mothers arrive at this medical clinic, which this lady owns, after traveling from Minnesota. This person is actually a man. His wife and this other person, we are already inside. The investigators said interviews with the girls and a medical exam conducted after the visit to the clinic revealed both girls have been victims of female genital mutilation, a painful surgical procedure to remove part of the clitoris or clitoral hood to suppress female sexuality. Both girls, their parents, and the 3 defendants are members of the Dawoodi Bohra Islamic sect, according to the criminal complaint. I mean, I credit where credit is due. Like I said, the only time that they will reveal the only time they will reveal the Islamic sect is if they are part of the Dawoodi Bohra. I'm telling you, read reports on FGM that is conducted by mainstream news outlet or mainstream global organization and non-government, non-profit organizations. It is only when they are talking about the Dawoodi Bohra community that they just remember, oh, it's actually an Islamic sect. Both girls, their parents, and 3 defendants are members of the Dawoodi Bohra Islamic sect, according to the criminal complaint. Now, what does the indictment say? The conspiracy dates back to 2005. According to the indictment, the 3 defendants had conspired to perform procedure on girls under 18 years of age since 2005, meaning they've been doing this since 2005 in the United States. This person allowed this person to perform the procedure at his clinic after it was closed for the day. He was present at the clinic during the procedure while his wife, Farida, assisted in the examination room. Both persons agreed to make false statements to law enforcement regarding whether the procedure took place. The 3 defendants told others not to speak about the procedure and to lie to federal investigators about the procedure. These 2 took steps to delete evidence, of course, because Takia is 100% halal. And this person told investigators she had never been present or had knowledge that this procedure was being performed on children. And this other person told investigators this procedure has not taken place at his clinic. And what do the attorney say? Following this person's arraignment, attorney Shannon Smith told reporters her client, is a woman, her client was absolutely being persecuted because of her religion. The client in question will remain in jail. This was written as far back as 2017. So we don't even know what happened with the case, right? Will remain in jail awaiting trial after a federal judge deemed her a flight risk and a threat to the community. During a detention hearing in April 17, Smith told the judge that the procedure did not involve courting and was religious in nature according to court documents. Smith argued that the procedure is practiced by the Dawoodi Bohra and that the clinic was used to keep the procedure sterile. Smith said her client removed a mucous membrane from the girl's genital area using a scalpel as part of a religious practice. I mean, lawyers lying. This is not the first time. The amount of mucus would look to be about the amount of a sesame seed. It would be placed on a piece of gauze. The gauze will be just pinched together, given to the family to be buried. That's the religious procedure that was used, Smith said during the detention hearing, according to court documents. This person's employer, the Henry Ford Health System, told CNN in a statement the emergency room doctor has been terminated from her job. She had worked there for 16 years, according to hospital spokesperson Brenda Gregg. Now imagine what she has been doing in those 16 years where she was in that clinic as a resident doctor or resident employee, whatever it is that she was for 16 years. And how after hospital hours, they will sneak patients in and conduct female genital mutilation on them. And of course, all these things that the lawyer is saying is complete nonsense. It's a lie. It's clear-cut fabrication. After the girls in question were examined, it was found out that they have been mutilated. Their genitals have been mutilated. So if they found out that if it is indeed just a small mucous membrane that was the size of a sesame seed, right, that was removed, how come this is looking like no clitoris? What? You are trying to remove a small mucous membrane the size of a sesame seed, but this is what I can't find. The clitoris of this lady is gone. The clitoris of these girls are gone. How? Can you explain that? So yeah. Let's read more of this. This is interesting stuff. The actors were scheduled to be in court Wednesday for a detention hearing, but after the indictment was released, that hearing was postponed until May the 3rd. Dr. Atta's attorney, Mary Cartier, who spoke to reporters after Wednesday's initial appearance, said her client, is this not interesting? Is it not really interesting? You see, Americans say there's nothing these people will not do for money. He said, well, it's not just money, it's their job anyway, I understand. But isn't that interesting that the people defending speak of women standing up for other women, right? Is it not interesting that the person in charge of the procedure, the person under whose supervision this procedure is taking place, is a woman? The person defending the defendants in this case, in both cases, according for two of the defendants, person defending them, women, female lawyers. I mean, I'm just saying. My dad always said that the enemy of women is other women. And here is proof. Anyway, Mary Cartier who spoke to reporters after Wednesday's initial appearance, said her client is of any crimes committed at he's a man, at his clinic, and that what happened at the clinic was not FGM. Okay, so first of all, he's not aware, and even if he was aware, it's not FGM. It was, of course, Sesame Street size of mucous membrane that was removed. That somehow happens to be
the entire clitoral hood of 2 girls. That is what's that is. Oh God, mucous membrane indeed. You know, that's what we should be calling female genital mutilation from now. The removal of mucous membrane. Okay, the removal of mucous membrane the size of sesame seeds. Okay, that is what it is. Somehow, it's just that when that mucous membrane is removed, suddenly a woman is without clitoral hood. That is what happens. Okay, it's a mystery. I can't explain. Just like the Quran, it is a mystery. And what happened at the clinic was not FGM. He was aware that this doctor used the clinic. He offered that to her and let her do that. Katia said that Atta was never present in the examination room and that he never met these girls. Okay, so it was this person that was involved and not the man. That is Dr. Atta. Katia said that at the heart of her client's defense is a misunderstanding over his religious practice. When asked to clarify what that practice was, she did not respond. It's funny what the lawyers are saying. Lawyers are like, he was not aware. Even though he was aware, he was not present, and even though he was present or not present, even what the practice in question is not FGM. I mean, Barrister Katia can as well be a dawagandist at this point. But it's fine, I understand. She's doing her job. She did not respond, and this is a quote from who now? From Katia. She said, I do believe that the government do not fully understand the religious practice of Dr. Atta and Dr. Atta's religion. And I think that's why we are in court. We are in this courthouse today. And what we'll be fighting over for the next few months, Katia said. They have a religious belief to practice their religion. And they are Muslims, and they are being under attack because of it. These lawyers are not making it easy. I believe that they are being persecuted because of their religious belief, and I do not make that allegation lightly. No, you don't. My dear, I agree with you. See, Mrs. Katia, I agree with you. I just want the UN to agree with you. If only the UN and every other organization and every other group can just agree. Even CNN that is reporting your statement don't agree with you, obviously. That I agree with you, Ms. Katia. I believe that it is a clear misunderstanding, and what is being practiced here right now is your religion. I believe this is your religion that you are practicing. Okay? I mean, not you, but your client. I believe that they are practicing their religion. I 100% agree. The problem is I'm trying to get others to agree with you. You understand? I'm just trying to get the rest of society to agree with you. You know. Farida's attorney, Matt, okay, this is the first time we are hearing from a guy, did not speak to reporters following the hearing. You see, that's what men do. They keep quiet. Over the weekend, he told CNN his client has not admitted guilt. He says she has not entered a plea, but we look forward to defending the case against her. In court, the actors sat next to each other, both wearing orange prison jumpsuits and religious head coverings. While being escorted back to jail, they waved to a supporter in the gallery and smiled. All right, so leaders of the Dawoodi Bohra Michigan Mosque released a statement Friday saying they are offering assistance to investigators, according to the Detroit News. Any violation of U.S. law is counter to instructions to our community members. The statement said, of course, lying is not something that Muslims find very hard to do. It comes naturally. It is an important rule of the Dawoodi Bohra that we respect the law of the land wherever we live. The statement continued. This is precisely what we have done for several generations in America. We remind our followers regularly of their obligations. CNN's call to the set's headquarters and the mosque attended by the parents and the defendants were not returned. A 2012 U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported that roughly 513 women and girls in the United States were at risk of undergoing female genital mutilation. Wow. You know, when I was referencing this article
I did not read to this part. I'll be honest with you, this is where I stopped. Sorry for the glitch. You guys will have to bear with me. I know I keep buffering and freezing, but just bear with me. When I was reading this article to reference it in the video I was making, this is where I stopped. I did not read further, and I should have, because there's no way I will have seen this and not mention it in that video. I would have definitely mentioned it. But of course, we can be sure that like maybe 40% of these people in this this rough estimate, 40% of this rough estimate are Christians and Jews, because we know that's what we do. We circumcise our girls. That's what we do. So back to what I was reading in this paragraph. A 2012 U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention report found that roughly 513,000 women and girls in the United States were at risk of undergoing female genital mutilation, which was more than 3 times an earlier estimate based on 1990 data. The World Health Organization considers the procedure a violation of human rights of girls and women. No charges have been filed against the parents of the girls. They should be. Not just the doctors. The parents of these girls should be charged as well. I don't know what they are waiting for. They don't want to incur the full wrath of the entire Dawoodi Bohra community. They're not that big. You can deal with it. They're not that big. You can always just, go after them instead of going after the entire Shafi school. Shafi school, they are like sizable population of Muslims. But the Dawoodi Bohra, they're like a very minor group. You can always go after them. Anyways. Yeah. Guys, I finished talking to myself and talking to the camera and talking to the screen and talking to about 35 of you still watching and listening to me ramble. And that is all I have to say about FGM for now. I have many more things to say. Meanwhile, I want to thank King of Current for the 5 gifted Nigerian Perspective membership. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone who has been with us. I really appreciate you guys, sticking with me and listen to me talk about very, 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 very despicable practice. Okay, that is what I focus. I don't know why I am drawn to talking about this type of thing. Other people who criticize my critique of Islam is not usually religious. Like it's social and political, right? My critique of the religion is social and political because, we can always go after, and I think it's very important to go after the theology of Islam and show how it is flawed, right? How Islamic thinking and understanding of, God is wrong and flawed. Talk about stuff like the Islamic dilemma. You talk about what the Quran says about Jesus and stuff like that. I think it is important to talk about those things, and it's very effective to talk about those things. But I don't want to I don't want to become because one thing is when you choose to talk about those things, you now have to defend your Christian. It's not like I have any problem with defending Christianity or my religious belief, because you know how Muslims do. When you criticize them, they criticize you and respond. They don't respond to your criticism. They ignore your criticism, ignore it completely, and then just say, but you Christians, do you know that Christians do this? Do you know in 1944 Christians did that? That's usually how their response is. And then to respond to them, you now have to start by defending Christianity, then attacking Islam again, and I don't want to turn into, as much as I am a devout Christian, I love the Lord, I love Jesus, I don't want to turn my channel into a Christian apologetics channel. I'm trying my best not to do it. I feel pulled in that direction, but I'm trying to resist the pull. Okay, so that's why I choose rather to just focus on the social political aspect of the religion, and so I talk about the social consequence. Look at what results from the teaching. Look at what results, and really my concern is really not that I want. It might be the case that the best
way forward, and I not just might, I think it is indeed the case that the best way forward for most Muslims is to abandon the religion. That there's no reforming this thing. People have tried and failed. This is not the first time, and people are still trying and still failing. Okay, there are many kind of sets that are reformative, right? You have the Ahmadis, you have even the Dawoodi Bohra are kind of like a reformative set, right? They are, for all their flaws, they are really a liberal, very moderate set of Islam. It's not really, Dawoodi Bohra is not hardcore, trust me. It's not, when you compare to other sets in Islam, Dawoodi Bohra is very moderate, you know, very moderate. You know, some of their women don't cover, you know, don't wear the hijab. Even though it's so funny. They're like, yeah, you don't have to wear the hijab, but when it comes to cutting you have to do that one. So yeah, for me, it's not really as much as ending the religion as it is ending the negative practices that come with the religion. And I know while I'm doing that it has to be, it will only become a reality when the religion itself ends, because if Muslims will have to accept that, let's say, child marriage is bad, or have to accept that FGM is bad, it means Muhammad is wrong. Muhammad is evil. And if Muhammad is wrong and Muhammad is evil, it means Allah is wrong and Allah is evil. And if Allah is wrong and if Allah is evil, you have to leave the religion. That is the conclusion you find yourself in. You have to leave, because these are abhorrent practices. If you want this to end, this is the way forward. You know, and I strongly believe that that's the way forward for Islam. The way forward for Islam is for it to cease to exist, or rather, the way forward for Muslims is for them to stop being Muslims. Without that, they are just going to forever remain stuck in the 7th century, essentially. So that is why my critique of the religion is more or less a critique of the social, political consequence of Islamic ideology. Okay. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you subscribed to the channel, and I hope you ringed the notification bell. Very important, because if you don't ring the notification bell, you will know when I release a video. It will happen, and you like, oh, did it happen or did it not happen? You are not aware. So ring that notification bell so that when the next video drops, you'll be aware and you watch it and you tell the algorithm that yes, promote this to people like me, you know. And with that said, I also want to thank Jazz for the super chat. She said, "Thanks, Frank, for tackling such a horrific practice with the contempt it deserves." I don't think I'm as contemptible as I should be. Somehow I talk about this. I think the only time I really show the emotion befitting of something like this is when I talk about real life cases, right? That's when for me you begin to see me look visibly upset by what I'm talking about. But right now I believe I'm still not emotional yet. And thankfully so, right? Thankfully so. Maybe that it will allow me to be level-headed in talking. But once we start talking about real life cases, and you know, when I do reaction videos to people talking about them undergoing FGM practice, that's when I'm like, of child marriage or VVF or whatever it is we are discussing. That's when I'm like, I mean, you can no longer, what joke am I going to crack now? This is horrific. You know, it's just bad. There's nothing else to say than this is just bad. But anyway, thank you guys. Thank you all. And until we meet again, probably next week. Definitely next week. This is the last day of the week. Until we meet again, peace.